The style of weed guard I use most often is a through-the-eye single-post weed guard. It does require a hook with a relatively large eye, which fortunately is no problem with most saltwater and warmwater hooks. I'm using 20-pound hard mason nylon monofilament, or mono for short. This is a good choice for hooks in the number 2 to 1/0 size range. Start by trimming off a piece a little longer than what you'll need. The mono should be relatively straight. If there's a curve, line it up so that it curves back towards the hook point. Then flatten one end with pliers so that when the flat side is against the hook, the curve will be in line with the curve of the hook. The flattened portion of the monofilament needs to be long enough that it extends through the hook eye and far enough down the shank that you can wrap it down easily. Next, stick the flat end through the eye of the hook with the long end extending through the eye on the side of the hook with a point. Push the long end of the weed guard down onto the hook shank and wrap it down tight. The flattened portion should extend far enough through on the other side of the eye that it can be flattened against the hook shank and wrapped down easily. Push it down into place and wrap over it with tight wraps. It's a good idea to push a bodkin through the hook eye to make sure the flattened mono is pushed against the outside of the eye. If you are using a hook with a moderately large eye paired with the right diameter of monofilament, and the mono is adequately flattened, there should be plenty of room to thread your tippet through the eye of the hook. Bend the weed guard away from the hook by putting pressure against the base, and wrap behind it to stand it up. Continue wrapping on both sides of the weed guard until it is firmly in place at an angle you like. This might take a little adjustment. Make sure you get it right before finishing the fly. Remember to use tight wraps instead of lots of wraps. You can whip finish in front of and/or behind the weed guard, but if you whip finish behind the weed guard, it ensures that your whip finish won't crowd the eye. It's very easy to crowd the hook eye when adding a weed guard, especially if the fly already fills most of the hook shank. Next, measure the weed guard against the hook point and trim it so it extends just beyond the point. If the weed guard sticks up much higher than the point of the hook, which it usually does, I also like to put a short bend in the end. This helps the fly to slide through obstructions more easily and also looks a little better. Sometimes I'll flatten the end as well. And now this crab fly is ready for the grass flats. If you prefer not to run the weed guard through the hook eye, you can just lash the weed guard down to the hook shank directly behind the eye. I still like to flatten the end for a smoother transition. Start by wrapping the monofilament down on the point side of the hook shank, with the long end extending out from the eye of the hook. When it is securely in place, fold it back and place some wraps in front to secure the angle. Be careful not to crowd the hook eye. Then measure, trim to length, and bend the end if you'd like.